So I'm going to get started with this session. We are having so much happening in this event that I hope you
Okay.
have a chance to take a look this what's happening here. So it's my pleasure, it's actually my honor to present these next couple of speakers of this session. Uh, they will talk about their experience. Mauricio Campelo, who is the Director of Trade and Strategic Youth Management, and Tomohiro Hosaka is the Vice President of Corporate and Innovation of ONE, Ocean Network Express. Uh, ONE is a global company in the container carrying shipping industry. And they will talk about their learning on lean, their initial steps in the lean journey, and in particular about lean leadership. Thank you very much, Mauricio. Thank you very much, Tom, for being with us today. Please, Mauricio and Tom.
Thank you, Ferro.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you for the introduction. I will share my screen now. Just um, okay. I think you guys can see my screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I will start with the presentation, and we gave a title for this presentation of "Managing on the Midst of Extreme Environment," and we explain a little bit why we named this for today's presentation, and we'll cover 4 points in the agenda. Um, who are we and what inspired us? What I have learned about lean leadership, what has changed in my leadership practices, and what have been the results. So Tom will speak about the items 2 and 3, and I will speak the 1 and 4. Um, who are we and what inspired us? So um, as Ferro just mentioned, we are a shipping company, we maritime transportation industry, and we move containers in ships. So um, having this title, managing in the mid of extreme environments, um, maybe we can understand a little bit better um, by giving a brief explanation of where we came from. Um, we are as a result of the 3 companies, Japanese companies, centenary companies, in fact, over 100 years, 2 of them, and 90 years the other, which had decided in 2016 to announce a merge of their container transportation. The NYK line, Mitsui SK line, and K line, they are 3 conglomerates. So the shipping industry were facing a huge crisis, losing money. And in 2016, even one of the top 10 carriers in the world, the number 6, in fact, a Korean company, went on bankruptcy. So was a very difficult moment. So in this moment, in the end of 2016, the Japanese decided to merge the 3 companies and create a new company as from April 2018. So the new company started operating in April 2018, which is Ocean Network Express, with 1.6 million TEUs. TEUs is a container unit that we call, and we move containers. So the joint venture, in fact, was a kind of different because was not one taking over the other, but was more a new company that started from the scratch and start moving all the containers already being number 6 in this time in the world. So in order to create a new company in this very difficult moment that the shipping industry was facing, we as a company decided globally to have 8 core values as a base of the company. But for today, we want just to make some emphasis on the 3 points here, which is lean and agile, the innovation, and the challenge. And we will talk a little bit why those 3 points The challenge, we came managing people and managing business, as a result of these three companies getting together, three centenary companies. In fact, it was the first time in the history that we had such a huge merge. In fact, in the container shipping industry. So there was by itself a big challenge that we had to see having people coming from three different companies at the same time. From the beginning, we had to um, have the transformation. We have to innovate, correct? The innovation was one of our core values. So we were seeking for efficiency, accelerate the digitalization. That was already one of our pillars or objectives on that time, in order to have excellence in customer service. And the third point was the way. So breaking through conventions to make ideas into reality quickly. So um, we were launching 2018, in April 2018, and just 2 years later we had the first big challenge. Correct, COVID came, and was a big challenge for the industry, but for every industry, I guess. So we were working on a lot of transformation, chains, processing, standardization, and we had to do this remotely. So how to do what we call digital game, but how to keep go and see and practicing this in a remote working. Um, and we had to accelerate the digitalization. So our industry, I would say that's very old-fashioned industry, where many things were not so digitalized before. So in this environment of changing company, facing challenges as an industry, having COVID, remote working, we had to exercise or to see how, and we are going to talk a little bit how the lean leadership helped us in this process. So I'll give the word to Tom.
Yep, thank you, Mauricio. Okay, let me explain about what inspired me or us on the lean leadership. Actually, this is a concept not globally adopted in the ONE. We just started in Brazil, in Latin America. As Mauricio mentioned, we were in the midst of the extreme environments with a mission to transform our company with more efficiency, accelerate digitalization, and strive towards excellence in customer service. We need in order to keep competing in the volatile market of container shipping. And in order to lead these initiatives, we found lean methodology an interesting tool. We learned the meaning of lean, that lean originates from Toyota production system. It is famous for its Kaizen activities, and Toyota was our important customer for a long time. So we somehow knew this in mind as DNA from the original Japanese company. And it was natural for us to accept the concept. Second point we liked is that lean is to reduce the waste that is not adding value to our customer. As we seek more efficiency, digitalization, and excellence in customer service, this idea was 100% matching to what we need. And third point is that the concept that lean is not a project, but a DNA to continuously pursue improvement every day in our day-to-day work. The idea that work is day-to-day task plus Kaizen, this idea was what we wanted to adopt in our company. All of those we somehow knew, but as we came from 3 different companies, and we also had new stuff after the merge, we thought it would be a good idea to have a training to reconfirm the concept and to relearn what we had in DNA. We had lean training for 10 leaders, 30 managers lasting for 5 months, and also several workshop for more than 100 staff in Brazil. It was a good that we are now able to talk in one concept, one language. We are also doing the same in Mexico, Argentina, and Uruguay. So what has changed in my leadership or our leadership practices? What we learned is that leaders have to start from Gemba. We need to see what's happening in reality every day. We need to feel where we have waste, overload, and problem variation, which is muda, muri, and mura. And we need to ask the right questions and not to give a solution. A3 approach was also a tool to let our staff tackle a problem and come up with possible solutions. We think it is a good way to involve people and encourage them to take initiative to develop as new leaders. Having a small success is also good. And most important one was leaders' behavior, our behavior. We need not to be a leader to say, do it my way, nor do it your way. We need to be a leader to say, let's go together, let's do together. Always care about the development of our people and always be there to guide them if needed. All might be common sense, but good to be learned. And adapting those lean concepts of a reality as container shipping or as a service company, we defined that Gemba for us was to know how our staff really execute the process day to day, especially in these COVID days at home. And let staff think and come up with the idea, solutions, and let them do. Small improvements, small step every day, small success. And focus on something we can do today to make tomorrow better. As leaders' behavior, try to ask right questions, not to do by ourselves. And most important is to develop the staff and engage and encourage them to take initiative. And each of us to continuously reflect, question ourselves, what are my gaps? What do I need to stop doing? And what do I need to start doing? With all those in mind, we made small progresses. I will pass to Mauricio, who is going to explain some.
Thank you, Tom. So for the last part of our presentation, the last item is what have been the results, correct, for me, for my team, and the company. So the first point, there is this say which says that if you change nothing, nothing will change. So in terms of behavior, we had to understand, all of us as leaders, that any change that we do starts with me, correct? Sometimes we always see the next door, we see the others, but even in every level, we need to understand that we need to start changing our behavior. So behavior probably, or the way we see problems and tackle those, are one of the lessons that we kind of put more emphasis. Um, so the second point, I think it's quite important. And as a result of this refresh training we had, how we identify the problem. So one of the challenges we saw during this period was, as we get a transition from 3 companies into one, it was very well organized, it was very well established from the beginning, but we had lots of challenges as well. So in the process, not 100% of the process, not all of them were mapped. So how we could identify the problems we have. So this book, 4 types of problems, that was indicated by Christopher on that time, was very important for us to see how we could release our time from the problem type 1, just troubleshooting, to get more into the problems type 2 and 3. So how we could identify our gaps, and even to discuss or to develop innovation in order to tackle more the problems type 3. So we, of course, we had to do surveys and assessment internally. And if I can say what I have learned myself as doing assessment from me and my team to understand our gaps as well as leaders, but also on the process that we work, it helped us to take actions. Of course, the holistic view on the problem solving, we had implemented mid-management meetings with all the mid-managers, working groups, developing several A3s, and we'll give example, real example for you to see in the next slide. By refreshing the A3 concept, we could get more consistent proposals and value added for the improvements we have to do as a company. And why we are tackling innovation for some problems of type 3, because we do have digitalization process and things changing. There are a lot of things we could do without investment, without money, just by correcting process or taking those small steps that Tom just mentioned. And we could see results, significant results, in fact. So I want just to give one example here. As a shipping company, we have bookings that we confirm to our clients on a B2B business. We need to confirm bookings to every shipper that load with us. So in the time, this is a graphic from April until November this year. And we can see first, we start collecting data around the time we were doing this exercise and training refresh, April, May, and we identified all the gaps. So we set a new target of 50% reduction in our bookings on the time we confirm bookings to our clients. And then we split the process in lots of small steps, in 9 steps, in fact. And those 9 steps, we start virtual Gemba, connecting with every country. We manage 20 different countries in Latin America as a regional office. So we had to do virtual Gemba in every step of the process, and then start a small correction in every step. And then we're doing weekly review, and we have some of them even daily. So as a result of it, we could have 75% reduction in the time of booking confirmation. So it was amazing result. Of course, it's still going on. There are several small steps with zero investment so far. This was problem type 2, because it was something we could identify the gap and tackle those problems. But at the same time, we do have globally lots of investment and change to get more digitalization that will tackle this as a problem type 3 and get even better after some more technology involved. But it's interesting that we could see and engage all the staff, leaders, managers, and all this staff, and then many people involved in order to get this result, which was really interesting. Was also interesting how we manage people, because the challenge we had coming from a big merge just 2 years old, changing process, then COVID, work remotely. We are very much worried how we could engage our staff, how we could ensure that everybody's connected. And we were just 2 years old in the middle of COVID, and we could get our first certification as a great place to work. And then this certification was just renewed now, June 2021. So the second year of certification in Ocean Network Express. This was specifically Brazil. It's not a global issue, but was an initiative in Latin America. So that comes to the challenge we mentioned, that is how we manage people. So for that one, I will leave now for the questions, Ferro. And if you guys want to connect with us, the LinkedIn is there if you want to catch up with us later.
Well, thank you, Mauricio. Thank you, Tom, for a great presentation. I think you provided a very significant story about how you started your learnings, and the way you presented it as small progress, small steps. But through that process, your example of the book confirmation problem solving, it's great. And as you approach bigger things, using more complex systemic technologies, more towards type 3 and type 4 problems, I think with this experience, by engaging everybody in problem solving, you will prepare for this new stage. I have a question for you. In one of your slides, you presented the idea that in lean leadership, one very traditional phrase that we use is the problem is me. We all like to start with the problems, and in the leadership, thinking about us, we like to start with the problem is me, and that's what both of you said you started with. How did you react to this initially? Both of you are very successful executives. You have a very a career, a global career. You work in different countries. So when how did you react to this?
Tom, do you want to start?
Okay, let me start. Thank you very much for your questions. Actually, that is the most difficult part. But what I learned is that we have to ask the right question. But before doing that, we really have to trust stuff and delegate. So that was one of the big lessons. So not to give the solution, or not to give the my solution, or not to give my opinion. I think we really have to question what they want, and question. So the most learning I had, and I'm still learning, and I'm still training, is to ask them, and then not to give my solution to them, and try to let them think, and let them take initiative, and let them do. Only thing about is still questioning myself is that the best answer for all of us. This is always, we have to tackle this, because sometimes it's not best answer for me, but it doesn't mean that my answer is this one. So this is something I still tackling and still learning, but I'm still, that is my biggest lesson, that you have to develop people, and that is the most important thing for the company and for us, that to develop people. And so in order to do that, what I'm trying to do right now is to just repeat more big vision, at least what I have, and try to repeat the same thing over and over, so that people will talk in the same way. It's not about the details, but in a broad way. I'm trying to talk in a broad way, my ideas, so that everybody can grasp. And then to be a positive and see the strengths rather than the weakness. So this is kind of thing I'm trying to do right now, if that answers.
Thank you, Tom.
If I may share just one real example that I believe sometimes we judge things based on perception, and we may have mistakes based on perception, correct? So one of the things I did myself, and was very interesting exercise, to recognize our mistakes, correct, and how we do as managers. So we did the self-assessment. I did the self-assessment in the beginning of the course. So even though I consider myself a very open door, always talking for everybody, connecting and engaging with staff and people, always going to the game and etc. Sometimes how much I listen, how much I challenge, how much I teach. So I want to be sure that my perception was the same for my staff. So what I did, I got the same assessment that I did myself, how I see myself, and I changed all the questions to the staff, and I did a survey, anonymous survey, so everybody could reply, my peers, my staff, and the managers reporting to me. So how they see myself on the 7 points of the link that we discussed. And it was interesting because I thought my listening was good, and in fact I got feedback that I could improve my listening, and I thought my challenge was good. It was small. I had to challenge more, and they told that I was already challenging enough. So And what I did, I keep 100% transparency. I shared the results of the survey, what I'm doing good and what I'm going bad on my assessment, and their view on my assessment. And based on that was very interesting because we opened dialogue and the room to discuss improvement as a leader, but also on the process because I exposed myself and I gave transparency, even on the points that I had to improve as a manager. So and the same exposure and transparency we saw in other processes. We shared here in the booking, but we have in container turn time. We have many other process which by sharing or giving transparency, sharing the good things and also the bad things, what went good and bad, we could see more improvement points and suggestion from the staff and discussion on A3 and etc. So that was a good experience that I had myself as a result of the training.
Well, thank you, Mauricio and Tom, for this answer. I think it provides a fantastic framework. Tom said that trying to avoid giving answers is very hard. But at the same time, what you're trying to do, Tom, is to communicate and to have a common understanding of the purpose. As soon as everybody understands the purpose, then it's easier for you to not provide the answers because the answer will be more naturally coming from them. So I think it's great. Sometimes we forget that just not providing the answer is not the answer. It's not the only answer. You have to develop a common sense of purpose, and also you have to have a trust that people, if they know the purpose, they will come along and they will help. Uh, and I like Mauricio's answer about the self-assessment. What do you think you are, and what your colleagues think you are, is very different. So it's good that you are developing this awareness about this, and then keep your definition of gaps not only to yourself but also what the team thinks. I have one more question about this. How do you think this the lean concepts, the lean practices, and this new leadership approach will help your business to be more successful? We know a little bit about what's happening in your business now. You have a lot of demand. Businesses are good for you at this time. So, how do you think this can help the business to improve over time, over the long term?
I think we are facing a very challenging moment as globally because of all the COVID situation. So all the supply chain and logistics are facing challenge. So we had this initiative in Brazil, and now we are expanding this to other Latin America countries. It's still every country, so it's not yet, as Tom mentioned, it's not yet a global approach. But as a Japanese company, we do have already in our DNA this mindset of always Kaizen and process improvement. So, but sometimes we need to refresh concepts. We need to remember, we need to be sure that we apply the concept in order to improve in reality. So sometimes we lose opportunity or we do much slower than we could eventually do. So having the moment we are facing now as a supply chain that every process is being challenged now, not only as a company, but as an industry. So we have lots of opportunities to identify problems and do small steps, continue in order to get better and competitive in a very challenge, I would say, industry. That's my C. I don't know if Tom wants to complement something.
Yes, thank you, Mauricio. Actually, I'm almost same with Mauricio, but our industry is very somehow old-fashioned, but also there is a lot of players involved in our supply chain. So I think there is a lot of opportunity for us, especially in this digitalization process, that we can really share and improve each interaction with the other how to say partners in this industry. So it's not only one, but it's a joint work with us, customer, and the people between, and all the vendors. There are a lot of interactions and lots of movements, and which we still not controlling 100%. And there is, I think, a lot of waste or moody or impossible. So I think there is a lot of opportunity for us to improve.
Okay. Well, our time is expired. I have to thank you a lot for taking your time, busy times, to share with us your learning, your way of thinking, and your challenges for the future. It's been a great session, and I hope you inspired a lot of people to join us in this effort to improve our companies using Lean and using the Lean leadership approach to change the way we lead our companies. Thank you very much, Mauricio. Thank you very much, Tomohiro, for this great presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very
Thank
much.
you. Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.